We bought it for 250, and when we refied it, it appraised for 570. So a lot of the money for the home infill, a lot of that came off my personal credit cards and me like figuring out how to pay things and credit cards and or personal savings and stuff like that. It was a lot of sleepless nights, but it was something I figured out how to do, and then it appraised for over double what we paid for it. It's myself and a partner. So returned everyone's capital, got a little bit of cash, and we're just like cash flowing, since then.
Welcome to the Real Freedom Show, where we inspire you to pursue your passion to gain time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Let's get some real freedom together. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Freedom as we talk about different ways that you can build time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. If you want to get started on your real estate investing journey, check out our website, freedomthroughrealestate.com. We've got a lot of great information on there for you to check out, articles, stories, podcast interviews, to be able to see who do you resonate with, what story, and really it's about kind of picking a path that you want to follow, and that path can change. And so we just really want to encourage folks, take action, move forward, decide what you like, what you don't like, and continue to go. Today's interview is actually just a really great example of that. We've got Tim Woodbridge. He's a former nurse, worked as a nurse for 9 years, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which tends to be a common theme through people that we meet. So if you haven't read that book, check it out. Decided to take some action, decided to invest in some mobile home parks. Fast forward, now you've got a portfolio of $18 million in a few different states in the South, primarily in terms of mobile home parks, and a goal of becoming a top 50 operator of all mobile home parks by the year 2029. You've now quit your job as a nurse. You're doing this full time. Excited to hear your story, Tim. Thank you for coming on.
Mike, thanks so much for having me, man. Really a pleasure to be here.
So why don't you just start by sharing a little bit about your background, how you started thinking about real estate, why real estate, and we'll take it from there.
So, like you said, I'm a former nurse, retired nurse, over 3 years ago. So, I grew up and everyone said, my dad especially, right? Work hard, get a good job, get a good, safe job. And so I did that, and that's all I knew. And, I became a nurse, and I was like, oh man, as soon as I'm a nurse, that's when everything's going to be amazing. And then I was a nurse, and I was like, well, it's not in the same way that I thought it would. And it wasn't until honestly the last couple of years or so that I have really reflected that it's not the getting someplace that I'm excited about. It's like the working towards it. So yeah, while I was in school to get a bachelor's in nursing, like that was exciting. And then when I was done, it was just like, oh, like what's the next step, right? Anyway, so yeah, I was moved to South Carolina 8 years ago or so. And just kind of started reading more, picked up Rich Dad, Poor Dad, had no idea about anything. I didn't know wealth. I didn't know, like I always say, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he talked about assets and liabilities. Those were new terms to me. I had no like that I'm not from a family like that, very blue collar workers in a lot of way, very like roll up your sleeves and get a good job. That's, you work till you're 65 and then retire. But yeah, so I read it and I was like, oh wow, okay, this is how people are getting rich. This is how millionaires are doing it, like the idea of being a millionaire was so foreign. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is how. And so from there, like I just did a deep dive, what books could I read? Read a ton by Brandon Turner, read a ton by, anything that seemed interesting real estate wise. Also looked up meetup.com, and, started going to local real estate meetups here in Charleston. And yeah, I just soaked up information like a sponge. I didn't know what I was going to do, had no idea, but just, okay, maybe if I just keep coming back and then like I'll find a path. And, listen to a lot of the Bigger Pockets podcast episodes. And then Brandon Turner had Frank Rolfe on the podcast, and Frank was talking about, oh, like I'm in mobile home parks. I love it because of this. And it resonated with me. He was talking about how you got stickier tenants, you have lower operating expenses, um, and it's a dwindling asset because they're not really making more of them. And then on top of all that, it was just a little bit weird. It was a little bit different. And like I'm attracted to that. I have always kind of resonated with things that are not the mainstream. Like that's not the norm. It's not what everyone's doing. So like, I just, okay, yeah, that sounds exciting. And so from there, I just did more research, read some more, did as much as I could, but found in the podcast, Frank was like, go and look on mobilehomeparkstore.com, which his partner, Dave, I believe, has. And it seemed like a fake thing. And I looked it up and it was real. And there's actual mobile home parks there. And, found one, reached out to the owner and, just building relationships and whatnot from there. But mostly it's just, okay, this is what I want to do. What action do I need to do to get this done? And I just kind of followed that.
That's awesome. I mean, I think for people listening, what they need to realize is you painted the story well. Like you didn't have a background or a knowledge of kind of the path you needed to take, or even like you mentioned, assets and liabilities and just even the terminology of things. And you slowly started to figure it out. And what was maybe like this big murky cloud started to get a little bit clearer and a little bit clearer and a little bit clearer. And I think for people listening, they have to realize like I'm not going to know everything. I just need to know a little bit to take another step. And for you, it was education was kind of that first set of, okay, I got to learn a little bit more, understand the lingo, understand what I'm looking for. And then eventually you get to take action. But I think a lot of people just kind of get stuck in like, oh, I'll never be able to figure that out. So I'll choose not to do anything, or I'll just get stuck learning a lot about it, right? I'm really going to educate myself so I can take the right step. But it's taking the first step of action, getting into that first deal that's going to help kind of illuminate the steps after that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any right first step, or really, I don't think there's any right step generally. It's you take the step and then, you have a direction where you want to go. I mean, I got into real estate because I wanted to be rich. That's all I knew. There wasn't anything like more sophisticated about it. And but yeah, definitely. I mean, you can, think yourself out of all sorts of deals. And I almost did, right? So like I know it's easy to say all my story like from 5 years from closing that first park. Um, but man, I mean, got it under contract and thought I was overpaying. And, I knew a guy who had a lot more mobile home park experience and he said it's a bad deal. And I was like, I don't know, I don't know. And then just like figuring it out, even though like people had said, this is a bad deal. Um, and just, I knew. I knew that I could figure it out and I could figure out like so it was 10 to 36 lots occupied. So it's like, okay, maybe it's a bad deal as is, but I think I can make this into something. And I did. I didn't know how. I didn't know how at all, but I knew like what direction I wanted to take with it. And from there, it just led me down all this other path. So really it's like, a ton of people say the most important thing is just to get started. Just like you said, do that first step because once you do that first step, it compounds and you just keep rolling forward. Whereas if you're just, okay, I'm going to find the perfect deal, you're never going to do anything. And it's like, well, you're preventing yourself by overthinking things.
The perfect deal is probably not for sale, number one. And so,
Not to you, not to
yeah,
you or me.
right, right. And I think too, like, yeah, especially starting out for people to realize like you need to get something to get some experience to maybe get to the better deals, right? There's a little bit of a resume building that happens. And so it's showing you can do a deal, then getting to maybe a bigger deal and a little bit bigger deal or something like that. Or, you can partner with people and accelerate that. But realizing, yeah, the sweet, awesome, cherry, perfect deal isn't going to happen deal one. So you've got to kind of figure out what are the set of problems. Now, for you, you had mentioned what 10 out of 36 units were occupied right out of
Hmm.
the gate. I
Hmm.
know a lot of people would see that and say, okay, well, is there no demand? Like, how are we going to get this full? What if we can't get this full? So maybe kind of walk through your process there, the doubts, the questioning that you had of, okay, why hasn't somebody else taken this deal? And then how can I start to turn this thing into a profitable park?
First, I would say like I did not go into it like with sophistication. So, I did when
Which is
I
probably
was
is
so
a
I
good thing, a little bit of a
yeah,
strength. You didn't overthink it, right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I am more of an action taker and I rather than someone who overanalyzes. And there's strengths and weaknesses to that. Um, But yeah, so like I didn't go into it thinking, oh, why is there no demand? Really, when I met with the seller and he was showing me around the park and I was like, look, I don't mean to be rude, but how come you didn't fill this up? And he's like, well, I make, so much money. I own no debt on it. I don't have to. He was a retired pharmacist, so it's not like he's just like, yeah, this is just kind of he put some money in a place to preserve wealth, and it wasn't like he needed to do all this. So I was and I am 35, 40 years younger than him probably, and it's just a different stage of life. So whereas he didn't need to fill them up, he could just get that check. Me, I came in hungry and I was like, okay, I don't know how we're going to do this, but I know that this is what we do need to do. I didn't know anything about demand or anything like that, didn't even think about it. But yeah, so like the fun story about that, like so, 2020 hits, COVID hits. Not fun for anyone. I'm not saying that's fun. But what happened is Legacy Homes sent out an email to people, to park owners, and said, if, we're trying to keep our factories open and we will finance 100% of these homes to anyone who's, buying a minimum of 6 homes. And I said, well, you know, that's what I know that I need to do. I don't know exactly what that entails, but let's get them. So we bought 7 homes. We had to, get them set up ourselves. And I had no idea. Again, I didn't know, but I knew people who might know. So I had the 7 homes delivered. I talked to a company that sets up, friend of a friend. Um, and so, yeah, got them to set up the homes, got those homes filled. So that put us to 17, 36. And then we had 2 organic move-ins, meaning 2 people moved their own homes in. So I was at 19 of 36. And all of a sudden, I did a refi after that year. And so let's see, we bought it for 250. And when we refied it, it appraised for 570. So a lot of the money for the home infill, a lot of that came off my personal credit cards and me like figuring out how to pay things and credit cards and or personal savings and stuff like that. It was a lot of sleepless nights, but it was something I figured out how to do. And then, it appraised for over double what we paid for it. It's myself and a partner. So returned everyone's capital, got a little bit of cash and we're just like cash flowing, since then. We've done a little bit more work, added 6 more homes since then. Um, and, did a few other things where we really increased the occupancy. I think we're at like 33 of 36 right now. Um, so yeah, I mean, just figuring out how to do it. Like I had no idea. I had no idea how to do anything, but I knew what we had to do. And then that just kind of guided the direction.
And for people listening, that's the beauty of a commercial loan. For people that maybe start investing in like a duplex or whatever, you think, oh, well, what's the comparable properties? Here, when you add value to the property, it's worth more. And so if you can find a way, and whatever asset class that might be, whether it's multifamily, mobile home park, storage, or other things, you just have to find a way to add value. And yeah, of course, when you put new units on the lots, that's going to add value to your portfolio of what you own. And a bank's going to say, yeah, I'll take a bigger risk on that because you've shown that there's more value there. And so I think sometimes people kind of gloss over that fact and don't realize the power of that. And for you to go from 250 to 570, you added that much value and the bank said, yeah, I'm willing to lend on that. And then boom, that's kind of the catalyst for being able to grow. And so, yeah, if you're listening to this, like there's real power there when you can show how you can add value onto a commercial space.
It 100% felt like magic when I got the appraisal number after for the refi. I was like, "What?" Like, yeah, I worked my ass off for sure that in 2020. Don't get me wrong, but it felt like, oh my gosh, this is magic. I mean, when I was a nurse, you know, making, and granted, I mean it's equity, so it's not like it was all cash in pocket or anything like that.
Hmm.
But increasing something by what is that? What 250 plus 70? It by a substantial amount of value, like that's more than I made in 5 years. So,
Right.
320, by the way, is the number that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So it felt like magic. It's not magic in anymore, but it took a long time for me to really get a grasp on like how things work, you know. I knew like, okay, buy real estate, hold it, the value goes up, you improve the value of it through forced appreciation, and then you get rich. That's it, you know. There wasn't anything crazy with my thinking at that time. And now of course, it's like I get the nuance of it, but I'm still learning stuff, I'm still there. Yes, like the gray cloud is like semi-cleared, but like there's still a cloud, and it's always like, okay, how can I learn like what's gonna make me better at what I'm doing? And so like if I know this, oh, I learned recently about pref equity and what that is, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'll probably do my best to stay away from it. But like that was a new term to me. I didn't know what that was. And
Mhm.
yeah, the funny thing is, I hope we do this like another one of these in 2 years, and I'll be like, man, I love all my pref equity partners because I'm always wrong. I'm always wrong, and it's always fun.
Are you looking to get started or scale in real estate investing but don't know your next step? Are you overwhelmed thinking about finding deals, analyzing deals, doing due diligence, and managing properties on top of it? Go ahead and push the easy button and invest with us. Real estate investing is what we do full time. We've done dozens of deals with hundreds of doors. We have the knowledge and experience to handpick the best deals that most investors can't find. We vet large off-market deals all the time where you can hopefully find returns and economies of scale that you just can't find on your own. The best thing is it's 100% passive to you for less capital than you put down trying to acquire a property on your own. Don't let this year go by where you don't make the leap, add to your portfolio, or you just sit in analysis by paralysis. To find out more, visit freedomthroughrealestate.com and click on invest. You can book a call and learn more there. So get to scaling your portfolio now with us by your side. When you started with your first property, was the intent to quit as a nurse, or did you think this was just going to be a side thing? And then kind of at what point did you realize like, oh, this really can be a thing where, yeah, I'm going to quit my job? I'd love to kind of hear your thought process as that evolved and changed.
Yeah, that was never the intention. Like I didn't go into it like that. I did go into it wanting to get rich, but like in my brain there was no correlation between like quitting my job and being rich or anything like that. Um, but yeah, so 2 years into like around that after I purchased that first park, I was working and I was just kind of like, I need to go into this full time, like I need to uh I was in the space longer. I think I had a second park, didn't have anywhere near replacement income, but I knew that like, okay, so like I had sold a condo that I had, and so I had like a chunk of change in the bank. And so I was like, okay, I've got real estate that's not really paying me, but I do have, single guy, um, no kids. I got a chunk of change in my bank account so I can live off of that. And so, I quit thinking, okay, I will figure this out, and just having faith in myself that, worst comes to worst, I'll go get another nursing job. But I knew that if I didn't take that risk, that I would regret it. Kind of like if so I was living in Phoenix as a nurse, and my ex and I broke up, and my youngest brother invited me out here to South Carolina, and I didn't know anything about it, but I knew if I didn't do it, I would regret it. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, that, I figured if I didn't like it, I'd just keep moving. But it was life changing. Like so many positive things have come out of living here. So yeah, I'm kind of if I get the gut feeling that I'm gonna regret it, then I don't, I don't not do it. I'm just like, okay, quit the nursing
Hmm.
job, move across country, figure something out.
Now, out of curiosity, did your coworkers kind of know what you were doing, and were they kind of in the loop, or was this just something you kind of kept private? And then curious to hear like what their thoughts are of like, oh gosh, here's my coworker Tim now quitting his job because he bought this mobile home park and now it's, turning into a career. I'm just curious to hear kind of what your coworkers thought about that.
I'm loud. I don't keep a ton of like if I'm excited about something, then I tell all like my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is the first mobile home park was found by one of my nurse friends. They like were from that area, so hour 15 from Charleston, small town. They were from there originally, and they're like, "Oh, look, this mobile home park's for sale there." Because I had already like, "Oh my gosh, like real estate, y'all need to check out Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's life changing." And like, so I'm excited. I want to share all this cool stuff with people and like, okay, yeah, I just heard about mobile home parks. What do you guys think? And so, like, yeah, we were, uh, uh, they were aware. They were aware. And then, I had closed on that park, and I was just telling them how excited I am, and all that stuff. And then it's funny, those same that couple, good friends, good nursing friends. They're like getting into multifamily real estate and stuff, and so like I'm super excited for them. Um, but yeah, so I was at a different job at when I quit. I was at a different job, and like everyone there knew that I was, also in real estate. Again, like if I'm really like fascinated and like excited about something, I I want to share things with people. Like, oh my gosh, look at this. Granted, it has taken me a few years, or 2 to 3 years to realize that not everyone's going to be excited, and like that's okay. And it's like so now it's more like, okay, this is what I do, and if someone wants to hear more, then I can have that conversation. But like, yeah, when I had first discovered it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Y'all need to do
Hmm.
this. I swear it's going to be life changing. Uh, but yeah, so at that other job, I was, everyone knew what I was doing, and that I was looking to buy more and more, and then like friends from that job knew, hey, I think like I had just sold my condo, I had money, I think I'm gonna kind of go for this, and people think you're crazy, and that's okay. It,
Hmm.
it it's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on them and their fears and whatnot. And I felt a little bit like I was crazy too, so I fault no one for thinking that, but it was definitely, what I learned now or what I realize now is that you're not going to get, or I didn't get the kind of response from people that I thought I would, and I understand that more now and am okay with it. Whereas before, it's like, what do you mean? Like, you know, like, what do you mean? This is amazing. Why wouldn't you be into that? Like, I don't know, getting outside of my own head and being more empathetic to how other people feel.
Hmm.
I'm grateful to have more of that now.
I think a lot, and I explain to people when we're talking about capital raising, like it's not your goal to convert every person you know to invest in the things you want to invest in. It's just going and finding the people that that message does resonate with, right? I mean, there's, however many billion people in the world. I don't have to have my 10 closest friends and family convince them to invest all their life savings in what I'm doing. It's no, I just got to go find the people that are like, oh, that sounds really good too. I want to be a part of that. And it's just going and finding more of those people. And with that, like talk about the scaling piece because you turned, your first 250 into 575 and now you're up to 18 million. Talk about that scaling process of finding capital or finding partners to work with to be able to scale.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so bought the first park, 2 years later, the second, a year after that, the third. And then, so that would have been end of 22. And then 2023, we bought seven. And then 24, bought seven more. In between, like in 24, yeah, I think 24, or no, 23. Got the 34 unit apartment, got the 26 unit RV park. Um, so I mean it was slower and it was a lot of me figuring out how to do things and run things effectively and just partnering with different people on different deals and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. Um, yeah, I mean it was always like, okay, need to buy more, need to buy more. I don't know why, but I need to buy more. And, like 21, 22, everyone was buying like at super high prices. And I thought I was stupid because I couldn't make the numbers work. But
Mhm.
people were just looking at different metrics than I was at that time. I'm glad I didn't, other than that second park, um, I'm glad I didn't, go in for like all the craziness that people were buying. I'm glad I did not. And it's not because I'm smart, it's just because I didn't know how. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, yeah. So, it was slow and then so really, 23 we did a lot of creative deals and then, so let's see. The first one was it was we partnered with a guy. The second one, like my friend and I, we bought like a equity position. Um, and the third, like, was the same partners on, someone else found that and I was running it. And then like the seven were mostly creative in 2023. And then only this year have we started syndicating and raising capital. So, really got a solid foundation on mobile home parks, how to run them effectively, how to, do different things, how to increase the value, stuff like that. But yeah, it, my partner Matthias, I tell him, like, I knew how to take down mobile home parks. He has made me consistently make money from mobile home parks through, they're like the syndications and stuff. And so, I met him in the deal room, which is like all multifamily group, and like he said, I live in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'm into there's four mobile home parks on market, and I want to like go after these. And I was like, yeah, I've worked with that broker before. Let me talk to him and see kind of where the sellers are. I had already talked to the broker about that deal and had made an offer. It didn't work, but you know, so called him up, hey, where are your guys at? And he's like, okay, we can probably get it done for this price. And so I told Matthias, and he went and he ran the numbers. And that's what I didn't do. That's the missing piece for me is I knew how to do it, but I didn't run numbers really. I knew nothing was going to negative cash flow. I knew like how to run numbers like that. I didn't know like, okay, we could do an asset management fee and an acquisition fee and like these are the returns we're going to get investors. I knew like, okay,
Mhm.
like we're not negative cash flowing, we're going to run it and we're going to find a way forward. But like, so yeah, he got super granular. And like, again, so we keep investors' returns top of mind. And, we're getting 2x equity multiple in 5 years and for all invested capital. Um, and in that underwriting, yes, we're doing the acquisition fee. Yes, we're doing the asset management fee. We're getting paid for the work we're doing. And so it's just, a lot more sophisticated with being around the right people.
It's awesome to just see how you've picked things up along the way and just added it to your tool belt. And you went from this guy that didn't really know at all what you were getting into to, okay, I'm getting a little bit better, I'm getting a little bit better, a little bit sharper, scaling a little bit more quickly, now adding something new, adding a couple different asset classes. And so for people listening to this, like this is just a great example of a great story of like I don't have to know it all right away. I just have to know enough to get started, and your path is going to continue to grow. And like you said, you don't know it all yet, and so you're still continuing to learn from people and network with other people and grow, and this will just continue to build. So it's exciting to see kind of your journey of what you've done, and obviously it's going to just continue to pick up more steam and go faster and faster and bigger and better as you continue to learn more.
It's exciting, man. It's like I was saying earlier, when I was in nursing school, I was like, oh man, as soon as I'm a nurse, that's when I'll be happy and fulfilled and everything. I am happy that there will never be a time when I know everything. There's always something else to learn. There's something else to be interested in. There's something else to be excited about. And like, I, I mean, with keeping my blinders on right now for mobile home parks, that's all we want to do. There is a world of things for me to learn about. And like, moving more and more into syndications and then fundraising and then like long term, the goal is to sell to private equity in, 3 to 5 years or so, and like what that looks like. I have no idea what it looks like. I have like,
Hmm.
okay, I have an idea what it looks like. It means make a shit ton of money. That's it, right? And like, but what it really looks like I'm excited to learn about that. I'm excited to build a company that can be sold to private equity. I'm excited to build a company with my partners where everyone is doing what they're excited about and what they're best at. Like, it took me so long, a lot because I was trying to do everything, and I'm not good at details. I'm not good at underwriting, and like
Hmm.
clearly, I'm good at high level stuff, and like I'm so excited that I have people that I'm working with where everyone is working on what they're good at, and it's not like a grind. It's like, oh, like, I have conversations like this, and this is part of my job now, and I love
Hmm.
it. and
Hmm.
and like that's what I realize you should be doing. That's what I should be doing. If we could all do, the thing that you love, that makes money, that provides like a positive impact on the world, then like what else do you need?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love your take on that. For people that want to learn more about you, learn more about what you're doing, how maybe they can get involved with that, how can they reach out to you, Tim?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on Instagram, tim.woodbridge. So I'll say our website now, even though we're switching websites. So if you're looking to invest or, have a conversation about that, you can look us up on wcinvgroup.com. Again, we'll be changing that. So if you click there and it redirects you to another website, that is our doing, not someone else's. And then I always invite new people. So I have like a free course, and like with the underwriting tools we use, everything like that, you can email me directly, and my assistant Roel will email you back. So put something in the headline that says "pick your brain." Just, I want to pick your brain because I hate that. I hate that so much. It's such a lazy and bad way to introduce yourself to someone. And so I like to have fun about stuff like that. And so it's like a joke, right? Say, I want to pick your brain, and then we will send you the link so you can, put your email in, and you'll get our free course, like the free course I put together. You'll get the underwriting tools, everything you need to know. And maybe you're into mobile home parks, maybe you'll use it and like go find some deals and we can do a deal together. Maybe you'll look at it and you'll say, hey, this is not for me. Either way, that's, I enjoy helping people. Really, I enjoy helping myself 3 years ago. So anyway, my email is woodbridge, REI at gmail.com. Really simple. And again, in that subject line, hit I want to pick your brain or something like that, and we'll send you the link to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tim, for coming on, sharing your story. It's been fun, and just the passion that you have for what you do and a passion for helping others. So thank you so much, and best of luck to you as you continue to grow in the future.